Good morning, everyone. This is Sachin Fiske, Department of Electrical Engineering, SND College of Engineering and Research Center. Today, we are going to start the programming equipments used in PLC and SCADA applications. Before moving towards this programming equipment, first we revise the previous lecture. So basically, we know that this PLC means it is a solid state member of a computer family and it uses integrated circuit instead of the electromechanical devices to implement the control function, and it uses the sequencing, data counting, manipulating. All this data can be done very easily in the PLC system. So basically, it is a device generally used to communicate with the circuits of this PLC. So many PLCs are available in the market, but all of them are having the same programming devices, which allows us to write, edit, and monitor a program, as well as it is used to perform the various diagnostics procedures. The programming unit is basically connected to the CPU, as it is a major part of the PLC system when the program is written. Basically, this PLC will perform, or CPU of the PLC will perform reading the data from the input interfaces, then writing all this data or executed all this data on the memory, and then it gives the output. It writes the data to the nearby location. These programs are usually written in a particular language, and that language in case of PLC is called as ladder logic. Alternative programming languages are also available, but basically we are performing all these programs in a ladder logic. Some handheld terminals and personal computers are also exist as a programmer monitor devices. In this, the handheld unit input takes place through a membrane keypad, and display is usually an LCD. LCD means liquid crystal display. And with the personal computer, more complex typewriter type keyboards and CRT, that is cathode ray tube, are employed. The programming unit allows the engineer or technicians to enter and edit the program to be executed. See this diagram. These are basic components and their symbols basically used in PLC. Like whenever we are going to implement any of the PLC system in any of the programming, like so very important component is a transformer, and in the language of PLC system we called it as a control transformer. See this, in this control transformer one fuse means this transformer is located along with a centralized fuse for its protection. Here, for these safety reasons, machine controls are low voltage component, and because the switches, light, and other component must be touched by the operator and maintenance personnel. This means the line voltage must be reduced to 120 volt AC or less for the control. This is done using a control transformer. Here this figure shows the electrical diagram symbol for control transformer. So many different notations are there. H1, H2 for incoming and H3, H4 for outgoing. The most obvious peculiarities here is that the symbol is rotated 90 degrees with the primaries on the top and secondaries on the bottom side of this transformer. As we will see, this is done to make it easier to draw the remainder of the ladder diagram. And notice that the transformer has two primary windings. These are usually each rated at 240 volt AC, and by connecting them in parallel we obtain a 240 volt AC primary, and by connecting them in series we have a 480 volt AC primary. The secondary winding are generally related at 120 volt AC, 48 volt AC or 24 volt AC, and by offering a control transformer with dual primary, these transformer manufacturers can reduce the number of transformer types in their product line, make their transformer more versatile and make them less expensive. This is all about the control transformer used in PLC system. Now another is the push button switch actuators. Actually, so many switches are there used in PLC system. The very first type is push button switch, and these switches are come under the category of actuators. These are the two fundamentals used for switches. The first switches are used for operator input to send the instructions to the control circuit. And secondly, the switches may be installed on the moving part of the machine to provide automatic feedback to the control system. These are many different types of switches, too many to cover in this text. However, with a basic understanding of the switches, it is easy to understand most of the different types. These push buttons are generally used for the borewell or starter of the motors and so on. So the most common switches is these push buttons. It is also the one that needs the least description because it is widely used in automotive and electronic equipment applications. There are two types of the push button, the momentary and the maintenance push button. Which are the momentary and which are the maintenance? So we are going to discuss. The momentary push button switch is actually activated when the button is pressed and deactivated when the button is released. The deactivation is done using an internal spring. The maintain push button activates when pressed but remains activated when it is released. Then to deactivate it, it must be pressed a second time. For this reason, this type of switch is sometimes called a push button or push switch. The on-off switches on most desktop computers are laboratory oscilloscope are maintained the push button. Whenever a switch is in its deactivated position, the NO contact will be open. NO contact means non-conducting contact, and non-conducting contact will be closed, that is conducting mode. Figure basically shows the schematic symbol for normally open push button that is on the left side and a normally closed push button that is on the center diagram. The symbol on the right side is a single push button with both normally open and normally closed contact. There is no internal electrical connection between the different parts or different contact pairs of the same switch. Most industrial switches can have extra contact that is piggyback on the switch so as the many contacts are needed of either type can be added by the designer. Now we are moving towards the push button that is called as mushroom type push button. The actuators of the push button is a part that you depress to activate the switch. These actuators come in several different styles as shown in figure and each with a specific purposes. The switch on the left side has a guarded or shrouded actuators. In this case, the push button is reset 1/4 or 1/2 inside the sleeve and can only be depressed by the object smaller than the sleeve. It provides the protection against the button being accidentally depressed by the palm of the hand or other object that is therefore used in situations where pressing the switch cause. Sometimes potentially dangerous to happen, guarded push buttons are used in the application such as start, run, cycle, jog, or reset operations. For example, the reset push button on your computer is likely a guarded push button. The switch shown in either the left position has an actuator that is aligned to be even with the sleeve, and it is called as a flush push button. It provides similar protection against accidental actuations as guarded push button. However, since it is not recessed, the level of the protection is not to the extent of the guarded push button. This type of switch actuator works better in application where it is desired to back the light actuator, and these are called as lighted push buttons. The switch on the right side of the figure is a detent push button. That is, when pressed, it remains in the circuit, and then to return to its original position, it must be pulled out, and it is called as emergency stop button or e-stop switch. The mushroom head is always red, and the switch is used to shut off the power to the control of a machine when the switch is pressed in. In order to restart the machine, the e-stop or emergency stop switch must be pulled to the out position to apply the power to the control before attempting to run the machine or engine. Mushroom head switch have special schematic symbol as shown in figure, that is on the right side. Notice that there are drawn as standard push button switch but have a curved line on the top of the actuator to indicate that the actuator have a mushroom head. This is all about the mushroom head push buttons. Now the next switch we can discuss in the next lecture. Thank you.